In the Pokemon world, if you're not a gym leader, Elite Four member, or some other important character, then you probably fall into one of the many trainer classes that the games offer. Trainer classes are sort of like Pokemon types for people, as they primarily designate what type of Pokemon that trainer usually has. Just like Pokemon, there are a lot of trainer classes across the 8 generations of the games, and we are going to begin our journey today in covering one awesome fact about every single one of them. Some generations introduced more classes than others, so today we are going to be looking at those from generations 1 and 2, and over the next little while we will progressively get around to covering them all. Covering facts about all the trainer classes is a lot of work though, which is why it's nice to have support in the day-to-day hustle of making videos, just like the support of today's sponsor, Hustle Castle. Hustle Castle is a role simulator game for iOS and Android where you get to take control of your very own castle. You'll expand your castle with facilities and rooms to gather resources, grow your population of residents, and train them up for battle to protect your castle and save Princess Olivia from the evil Abyss Lord. You're completely in charge in this fantasy setting as the leader of your own medieval castle. You'll manage your community by expanding your castle with new rooms to gather different resources, and you'll train residents for battle in different classes like archers, tanks, mages, cooks, carpenters, treasurers, and even alchemists, and upgrade their skills along the way. This is the very first game of this type of genre I've played personally, and I immediately really enjoyed the community managing aspect of the game, and it sucked me in right away. You'll also be able to attack other players and defeat their troops in order to obtain their resources to further expand your own castle. The game also comes complete with its own storyline where, as mentioned, you'll be on a quest to save Princess Olivia from the Abyss Lord, fighting his legion of orcs, giants, skeletons, and dragons along the way. The game also has a fun and charming art style and is filled with really high fidelity graphics that make the game even more enjoyable. I also wanted to mention that this game has an awesome soundtrack, and I have just sat there at times listening to the music because it's just that good. You can even join my clan under the name HoopsandHipHop so we can grow our beautiful castles together as a team. So go ahead and download Hustle Castle via my links below, enter your nickname, and get a special bonus for new players: 250 diamonds and 3,500 gold. The game is completely free to play, so I will see you there, and thank you again to Hustle Castle for supporting the channel and helping me make content for all of you. Okay, so getting into the facts now, we're going to begin with the beauties. In Generation 2, the Beauty's sprite was edited for games outside of Japan and Korea. In her original sprite, she is seen winking and has a shorter skirt compared to her appearance in the international release of the games. This was a very unnecessary edit in my opinion, but was obviously done to tone down any promiscuous vibes that might be given off by the character. The Biker is one of the original trainer classes, of course originating out of Gen 1, and in Gen 5 they actually do something pretty cool. In Black and White, bikers as well as cyclists will actually speed up or slow down on their bikes depending on whether or not you as the player are running or walking. For bird keepers, meanwhile, this is what we've got. In the Gen 3 games, as well as Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, many bird keepers share their names with important main characters, several of whom had yet to be revealed at the time, including Hugh, Marlin, and Milo, in addition to Crystal, referring to Chris, and Will. There's also a possible reference in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, as 2 of the bird keepers in those games are named Donald and Louie, possibly from the famous Disney characters of the same names. Black belts are next because if you couldn't tell, we're going in alphabetical order, and in Pokemon Sun and Moon there is a unique black belt by the name of Clayton, and he is unique because he's actually wearing a Z-ring, when typically black belts, or any other generic trainers for that matter, don't have them. What's even more interesting is that he doesn't even have a Z crystal to use along with it. An odd fact about bug catchers is that the very first bug catchers that you encounter in all Generation 3 games are named Rick. Furthermore, in Crystal version in the Battle Tower, there is also a bug catcher named Tajiri, which is a reference to series creator Satoshi Tajiri, as he also enjoyed catching bugs as a kid, which is what gave him the idea for Pokemon in the first place. When it comes to burglars, ironically enough, none of the burglars in any game use Pokemon who can learn the move Thief by level up. Interestingly, only 5 Pokemon can actually learn this move naturally, those being Poochyena, Mightyena, Lombre, Kecleon, and Thievul. We might have covered the individual Pokemon champions in another video, but when it comes to their trainer class, it's actually the case that gym leaders are known as champions in the French versions of the games, and the champions are known as masters. Meanwhile, on the creepier side of that coin, in many languages of the games, the channeler trainer class are actually known as exorcists. Cool trainers, now known as ace trainers, pull off something pretty interesting in Pokemon Emerald. Ace trainer Diane, who can be found in Victory Road, owns a lantern that knows the move Earthquake, which it cannot learn in Gen 3 or any other generation at all for that matter. In Japanese, the cue ball, now known as the roughneck in English, are known as skinheads. This is a name used to refer to people who sympathize with Nazi-based views, which is probably why the name was changed outside of Japan, and for good reason. Just like Champions, the Elite Four is also a trainer class of its own, and the Kanto Elite Four has an interesting fact about them, because fittingly, their type specialties are the types that were the least common as of Gen 1, which was probably intentional considering they are supposed to be the strongest trainers in the region. For the Engineer class, we have a very interesting fact, since there was an Engineer in the Gen 1 games that was cut from the final release, but his data still remained in the game. Well, somehow this cut Engineer actually ended up appearing in Fire Red and Leaf Green under the name Bailey. He replaces a rocker that originally stood in his same place in the Vermilion Gym, and uses the same exact team as the unused Engineer. Furthermore, the Let's Go games actually combined both of these characters that were swapped for one another, as a rocker named Bailey makes an appearance in the same place in those games. When it comes to fishermen, we did not see female fishermen until Pokemon Sword and Shield, when the name of the trainer class was officially changed to Fisher in order to accommodate this. The Gamblers, meanwhile, have an interesting history to them. Since gambling slowly became a no-no in Pokemon games, they've gone through a couple identity changes. First, their names were changed to Gamers in Fire Red and Leaf Green, as well as Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. In Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, meanwhile, their name was also changed to PI, or Private Investigator, since this name somewhat fits with their appearance in those games. Many trainer classes appear in some games, but not others. The Gentleman class is one that appears in nearly every Pokemon game to date, with it strangely only having one absence in Pokemon X and Y, games where the Gentleman would arguably fit better than anywhere else thanks to the French Kalos region being more stereotypical of where a character like that would appear, making this all the more strange. Either an interesting choice or a huge coincidence, there is a hiker in Pokemon Black and White named Jebediah who owns a Probopass. Jebediah is a name of Hebrew origin, and Probopass has often been compared visually to the stereotypical look of Jewish people. What's more interesting about this is that he's in Unova, which is based on the New York metropolitan area, a location known for its higher Jewish population, which means this hiker is more than likely an intentional reference to this fact, but an interesting one to say the least considering the touchy nature of religion. In Japan, campers, formerly known as junior trainers, were known as Boy Scouts in Gen 1, but were changed to Camp Boys in later generations. This was likely due to legal reasons, since the term Boy Scout is usually associated with the Boy Scouts of America organization. The camper's female counterpart, the Picnicker, was also known as a Girl Scout, but their name was also changed, likely for the same reason. Despite NPC trainers not having individual names in Gen 1, there is a Picnicker, or female junior trainer as they're known in Gen 1, in Pokemon Yellow who can be positively identified as a character of the day from the anime, Giselle. Giselle appears in the episode The School of Hard Knocks, where she is known to have a Cubone, and the episode takes place in between Cerulean and Vermilion City. Well, sure enough, in the game on Route 6, in between Cerulean and Vermilion, there is a picnicker who uses a Cubone, meaning that it's most definitely meant to be Giselle. Pokemon Yellow is more heavily focused on the anime, so this is somewhat to be expected, but for an NPC trainer in the game and a smaller, low-profile character in the anime, it's a pretty cool reference to see. In Gen 1, one of the jugglers in the Fuchsia Gym utters a pretty funny and eye-opening line when he's defeated, as he says, "dropped my balls." In Fire Red and Leaf Green, this was edited, and in those games he says, "You're more skilled than I thought," when being defeated. For the last trainers, it was said by Game Freak developer Koji Nishino in an interview for Pokemon Gold and Silver that lasses actually grow up to be beauties. The Gym Leader trainer class is interesting because every Gym Leader that uses either Ghost or Steel-type Pokemon has used a Gengar and Steelix respectively on their teams. The Pokemaniac trainer class is also actually labeled as a glitch type that applies to several glitch Pokemon similar to Missing No in the Gen 1 games. In Pokemon X and Y, there is a psychic that says your Pokemon's power level is over 9,000, making a reference to the iconic line turned meme from Dragon Ball Z. When it comes to rival trainers, in every single generation, at least one of your rivals is battled at either the Pokemon League or Victory Road. Rockers are known as Denki Group in Japanese, which is likely a reference to the Japanese musical group Denki Groove, which would explain why they are known as rockers in English, despite not really looking like musicians. From rockers to rockettes, Generation 2 saw the debut of female Team Rocket grunts, whose generic design at the time is actually a combination of Jessie and Cassidy's designs from the anime, as they were the two most prominent female members of Team Rocket at the time. Many of the sailors in Pokemon Emerald and Fire Red and Leaf Green shared the exact same names, including Duncan, Dwayne, Edmund, Huey, Leonard, and Philip. Given that they are sailors, this likely means that they are the same people and have sailed from Hoenn to Kanto during the course of the games. In Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, there are two scientists who are the master trainers of Zubat and Golbat, and are named West and Keaton respectively. Their names combined with the Pokemon they use are a reference to Batman, as West and Keaton refer to Adam West and Michael Keaton, two actors who have played Batman in the past. Similar to the lasses, it was also stated by Koji Nishino in an interview that super nerds are the grown-up form of male school kids. In Gen 1, there aren't any female swimmers, which causes the games to use beauties and female junior trainers on water routes instead. This is actually referred to in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, where there are female swimmers, but they are instead referred to as beauties. Tamers are only present in the Gen 1 games and their remakes, and with their whips are a prime remnant of a lost mechanic when trainers were originally meant to battle Pokemon themselves during the course of development of Pokemon Red and Green. Youngsters are known as Shorts Youngsters in Japan, which is likely the inspiration for the iconic line, "I like shorts, they're comfy and easy to wear," that a youngster says in Red and Blue just outside of Pewter City. And finally, the last trainer class from Gen 1 is a cut trainer class known as a Chief. This is a trainer class that was reserved for a cut Silph Chief character that could have been the president of Silphco and was intended to be battled at one point. This cut trainer class was discovered in the data of Pokemon Red and Green's beta. Kicking off the Gen 2 trainer classes now, we begin with the Border. They are not found in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, but there is data for them in the games, which suggests that there might have been a snowy area in the Hoenn region originally, possibly even Mount Chimney before it was a volcano. There is a certain fire breather in Gen 2 who has a lot of significance for multiple reasons. His name is Dick in Gen 2, but it was changed to Richard in Heart Gold and Soul Silver for reasons I'm sure you can imagine. Furthermore, his sprite in the Gen 2 games interestingly changes color and becomes gray once you defeat him, and he's also one of the only trainers in Gold and Silver that was removed for Pokemon Crystal along with fire breather Ned, so he certainly hasn't been treated the best over the years. If there were shiny trainer classes like there are shiny Pokémon, then one would definitely exist in Pokémon Black and White 2. In those games, there is a guitarist named January who can only be battled during the winter and only if the player is female, making her one of the most difficult NPC trainers to come across. The Kimono Girls are a trainer class that are very iconically tied to the Johto games, and there are a couple interesting things of note concerning their names. In the French and German versions of Gold, Silver, and Crystal, Kiko is the name of one of the girls, but the name is actually used for a different girl in each language. Additionally, in Pokemon Go, if you name your Eevee Tamao or Sakura, it will evolve into Espeon or Umbreon, who are owned by Kimono Girls named Tamao and Sakura in the games. Mediums are a rather spooky trainer class from Gold and Silver who were another victim of censorship. Outside of Japan, their sprite was altered to remove the prayer beads from their hands in order to avoid any potential issues with religious imagery in the games. Probably the most prominent police officer we have seen to this point is actually, believe it or not, Faulkner. In addition to his gym leader duties, Faulkner also serves as a part-time police officer in the Pokemon Adventures manga. A neat little self-referential Easter egg occurs with the female Pokefans, as they always carry Pokedolls with them that are reflective of the region they are in. In Johto, they have Clefairy, which is a Kanto Pokemon, but with Kanto and Johto's close relationship is understandable, but from there it becomes much more to the point, with them carrying Wailmer dolls in Hoenn, Bonsly in Sinnoh, Sewaddle in Unova, and Flabebe and Pancham in Kalos. Now, the Pokemon Trainer is a pretty tricky class to nail down in terms of a fact, since most of the time this class is reserved for a specific and important character, many of whom we've already covered. However, one fun thing we can mention is that 5 such trainers with the Pokemon Trainer class are Riley, Cheryl, Mira, Buck, and Marley from Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. These are the characters who you guide through various areas throughout your adventure, and an interesting thing about them is that they all specialize in Pokemon who themselves specialize in a certain stat. Cheryl specializes in Pokemon with good HP, Marley in Pokemon with good speed, Mira in special attack, Buck in defense and special defense, and Riley in attack. For the Rocket Executive class, a cool yet subtle detail about Petrel's design is that in his artwork, you can see what appears to be a makeup brush along with other makeup-like materials on his belt. This is most likely a very nice attention to detail to the fact that Petrel is a master of disguise, and disguises himself as the radio tower director when Team Rocket takes it over in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Similar to mediums, the sprites of sages in both the original Gen 2 games and their remakes were once again edited to remove religious imagery. Everywhere outside of Japan and South Korea, the sage's sprite had its praying formation that it made with its hands edited out. And for the South Korean release of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the sage's sprite was edited yet again to remove the beads from his hand. A cool thing about the School Kid Trainer class is that Max from the Hoenn arc of the Pokemon anime was actually heavily based in terms of his design on the appearance of the School Kid from Gen 3. The Skier was actually a female counterpart to the all-male Border Trainer class in Gold, Silver, and Crystal, but actually completely overtook the Border as a trainer class in Gen 4 when the Skier was given a male variant that looks nearly identical to the Border from Gen 2, and the Border Trainer class was left behind, only reappearing in Gold and Silver's remakes. There is a teacher by the name of Cade in Pokemon Colosseum whose party, coincidentally, consists entirely of Pokemon that can Mega Evolve, well before Mega Evolution was introduced. Her team consists of Blaziken, Gardevoir, Manectric, Swampert, Sceptile, and Salamence. One thing you might not have known about the Twin Trainer class is that all of them in the entire series to this point are actually girls. This is most likely a reference to the fact that identical twins are more commonly female than they are male. And last but not least, we have the Mystical Man class, which is held exclusively by Eusine. A cool addition to Yusin's design in Heart Gold and Soul Silver is a diamond pattern on his clothes, which is actually a reference to the Pokemon he is hunting, Suicune, since Suicune has the same diamond pattern on its body. And there you have it, everybody. I will be back soon with part 2 covering even more of the trainer classes in Pokemon, but if you enjoyed this first part, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't for more Pokemon content. I also want to thank Hustle Castle once again for sponsoring the video and supporting the channel. Be sure to download the game with the link in the description. It's free and it's a ton of fun. With that said, I will see you guys on Tuesday with another video, and until then, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will smell you guys later.